P Diddy was accused by the government of setting up a criminal empire. He was accused of racketeering, of sex trafficking, and he has been found not guilty on those very, very serious charges. If they'd have found him guilty on those, he would have been doing life in prison. They would have taken every last penny he had. It was a death sentence. Now, they have found him guilty of transportation for prostitution, which, compared to those, is a much lesser punishment. Now let's take a little look at what his legal team had to say about it after the verdict.
It's a great victory for the jury system. You saw that the Southern District of New York prosecutors came at him with all that they had. They're not stopping, but one thing stands between all of us and a prison, and that is a jury of 12 citizens. And we had a wonderful jury. They listened to every word, and they got the situation right, or certainly right enough. They acquitted him of the sex trafficking, which he was absolutely innocent of. They acquitted him of the racketeering conspiracy that he was absolutely innocent of, and all of the components to it. The kidnapping, he was innocent of that. The arson, he was innocent of that. The obstructing justice, he was innocent of that. And that is no longer just me saying that. That is the verdict of our jury.
And when the verdict came in, Diddy apparently fell to his knees in the courtroom. This is a sketch from one of the artists in the court of him on his knees, sobbing, just absolutely relieved and probably thanking his lucky stars. Imagine the celebration he's going to have when he gets out of here. What a freak off that's going to be. That'll be the mother of all freak offs. Bring your baby oil. We're celebrating. Don't worry about the baby oil, actually. I've got plenty. It's fine. And for those who's followed my videos on this case, obviously initially I looked at the CCTV of Diddy. It was horrendous watching him hit Cassie the way he did. And you hear about all of, you know, the stories of Diddy setting up CCTV for these parties where he would have all these celebrities and potentially underage girls, and it just felt like we were witnessing the downfall of a monster. And while I still maintain Diddy is a wife-beating bastard who does deserve to see jail for that, the more the case unraveled, the more I was just surprised time and time again at how willing people were to be involved in this nonsense, and that it wasn't what the media portrayed to start out with, these big massive celebrity parties. These were private things between him and one other woman where he is watching other men go to town on them, and everyone involved was fully and utterly consenting in that, and also very well compensated for it. And the fact is, this was not about domestic violence. They didn't go for him on that because that wouldn't have given them the possibility to take all of his fucking money, which was really, in my opinion, what the driving motivation behind the government's case was. They wanted to take his money. This wasn't about justice. If it was about justice, you would have done him on the crime that he was clearly guilty of, and not put this case together, which was a massive stretch. Time and time again, we've seen things that they were claiming where the evidence just did not match up. The government's greed cost themselves justice here. And to be fair to me, I did say in earlier videos, some of you might remember, that the transportation one was the one he was caught red-handed on, and that the rest I didn't think he should be found guilty on. I nailed it. Despite some of the comments of saying I didn't know what I was talking about, how do you like me now? I fucking told you so. That's just because some people say I didn't know, do you know what I mean? It's just nice to just rub it in a little bit, innit? And the funny thing is, I don't actually think anyone should go to jail for transportation for prostitution. But we'll get on to that later. Let's talk about why the government failed to do what they set out to do, which is to get Diddy in jail for life and to take all his fucking money. The RICO charge, which is to basically get people who are in large groups of like mafia in jail for organized crime. They claimed Diddy had a group of people who were committing crimes for the common goal, which was to achieve profit or power. The problem was, this was never about profit or power for Diddy. This was about pleasure. The profit and the power came all from legitimate businesses, which are his music that he made money from. That's all legal. He did nothing illegal in all of that. This was him spending money, not making money, for his pleasure. And this idea that the people who were working for him were somehow foot soldiers committing all these crimes, when in reality, they were just like booking him a hotel for him to have a freak off in, and then, you know, bringing lube and then cleaning the hotel afterwards after he'd had a fucking sex fest. It's absolutely ridiculous that these were like mafia foot soldiers. It was laughable. The worst thing any of them did was bring him like some drugs that he'd ordered, that he paid for. And this isn't drugs for him to sell, like a huge amount that he's going to distribute and make money out of. No, no. This is just for him to take while he's having sex. And this is a criminal organization. It was an absolute joke. And I really think that they thought the jury were just dumb enough to believe anything because we're the government. You know what? Of course we're telling the truth. And it's like, you've got to make it make sense though. Now, in terms of the sex trafficking, the government had to prove that Diddy was forcing, coercing, and tricking women into performing sex acts for him. And when we seen the footage of Cassie on that CCTV getting beaten by Diddy, we were all horrified, and it shocks us, right? And you're like, fucking hell. Maybe she did all this because she was, being forced into it by Diddy. But the reality was, that footage was the tip of the iceberg of the Cassie and Diddy relationship. When we lifted under the carpet, there was so much more going on. It was fucking unbelievable. For a start, the escorts who testified about Cassie's sex acts with them said she fucking loved it. And I'm pretty sure if anyone would know, it would be the men who were balls deep inside of her. It was damning. Not to mention her current husband, it was in court, he was painted as the white knight in shining armor. Well, she was fucking Diddy behind his back. Now, why do you do that if you've escaped this hell lifestyle that you were living for 10 years, weirdly? I mean, it was quite a long time. Why do you then go back to Diddy after you've escaped from him? And then you send Diddy messages when you're with the new husband saying, I'm lost without you. And that wasn't even the first time she cheated on someone with Diddy. When she left Diddy for Cudi midway through their relationship, she went back to Diddy, not just to fuck Diddy, by the way, to carry on doing more fucking freak-offs. She should be going to Diddy, having a party with him, sucking all this dick all night, and then going back to fucking kid Cudi and fucking kissing him. Not only does that totally demonstrate that she had the free will to leave Diddy, go back to Diddy, and then leave him at the end of their relationship with no struggle from Diddy. No, you can't do this. I've got you under my control. There was none of that. She had the power to do what she wanted when she wanted. And that was fucking obvious. Especially when you read the text messages. When do you want to freak off? Lol, from Diddy. She says, lol, I'm just going up to change. I'm always ready to freak off. Lol, lol. There were so many messages of her just gagging for it, let's be honest here. In another message about freak off, she said, I want to choke on those dicks. I want it to be uncontrollable. There was one time when he went on a trip for work or something, and she messaged him after he left saying, I really wish we'd freaked off before you left. She was actively encouraging it. You don't need to say that. If you're a reluctant participant, you could just be like, no, I'm all good, mate. And she's like, no, please, let's do more. For me, this was a real bad one because this poor bastard here, she made her current husband look like a fucking mug. So after she'd got with him, she was texting Diddy, flirting with Diddy, and Diddy says to her, do you want to have a freak off for one last time? She replies that she wanted to have a freak off for the first time for the rest of our lives. That is someone who was still begging for them and begging to be back with Diddy, even though she's with this chump. Not to mention the countless messages that she sent Diddy about how loved up they were. And when it came to the actual escorts that they were using for these events, she would choose them, she would book them, she was fully instrumental in the whole process. She was just as involved as Diddy was. I don't understand how Diddy is getting done for transporting prostitution when she was just fucking organising it as well. And I remember we all felt guilty for her when it came out that this escort had peed on her face or in her mouth or whatever. And then they cross-examined the escort and he was like, no, it was her who told us to do it. It wasn't just Diddy, it was her. I mean, that is a low moment really, isn't it? When you've come in acting like a victim and it's just like, fuck me, man. What her fucking husband must be. I mean, he had children with her. Every time he kisses her, he's got to think of someone pissing in her mouth. It's just mad. And let's not kid ourselves as to why she did all of this, right? Maybe she was into the sex or whatever. But the real reason was the financial benefits. Diddy paid for her house, cars, gifts, all of her credit cards were paid off. She was living the life of luxury. Didn't have a financial worry in the world. So she was more than happy to swim around in little blow-up bathtubs that they had in these hotels full of baby oil as long as she was getting paid. And she was getting paid like a CEO. And I remember at one point during this whole trial where Diddy actually sent her a message going, by the way, if you're not feeling into it at the moment, I'll not bring it up anymore until you fancy doing a freak off. We're led to believe that this man is a sex trafficker. What sex trafficker says, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. It doesn't make sense. There was so much that just destroyed the government narrative. And I get why some people just struggle to understand that this was consensual, because they look at that through their own eyes and go, well, I would never want to do that. I get it. But if a billionaire was offering you that level of lifestyle, I think we'd be surprised at how many people deep down may say yes. And let's be honest, like, it is possible for people to consensually do this. How do you think adult entertainers make a living? They consent to doing wild shit that maybe ordinarily they wouldn't have done for money. It's not like this doesn't happen around the world. It's a lot more normal. Fuck me, OnlyFans has taken off like a fucking rocket for a reason. To act like this just doesn't happen, it's ridiculous. And now, a word from our sponsors. If you're looking at going away this summer, then this is a great way to save some cash. Wherever you're planning on going on your summer holidays, you're gonna need internet access on the go. And there's only one company I trust for that when I'm abroad, and it's Saley. And right now, there's 15% off your first eSIM plan, so this is a great time to get in. What's great about Saley is it gives you a local SIM card you can use when you're traveling, so you don't have to pay those crazy roaming fees just to send a message or check your Instagram. And they've got plans in over 160 countries and 8 regions, so pretty much wherever you're going, they're going to be able to make sure that you're connected. All you got to do is click my link in the description, download the app. It's going to work on iOS or Android. Then you buy your plan and you can choose the amount of data and the time frame that suit you best. Then you just install the eSIM on your phone, and when you land at your destination, you can activate your plan instantly. And the great thing about Saley eSIMs is they only ever have to be installed once. So when you go on your next trip, you buy a plan for the new country, turn the eSIM back on, and boom, you're back in business. And the thing I love about Saley is I actually used it when I went to LA not long ago, and I had unlimited data, which is one of their options. And actually, the connection that I got from the eSIM was faster than the Wi-Fi in the hotel. And it just saves the hassle of hopping from Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi when you leave the hotel and not being able to do anything when you're in between locations. And they've got 24/7 support, and they'll do you a refund if for whatever reason your eSIM isn't compatible. So get yourself onto Saley now by clicking the link in the description below. It's saley.com/Geordie, and you can use my code Geordie, all block capitals, all one word, for 15% off your first purchase. And I think part of the problem for Diddy in this case, obviously the CCTV certainly didn't fucking help him, but when women walk into a court of law, they're automatically the victim, and the man is automatically almost starting from a point of perpetrator. The way women are treated like they're not capable of making their own decisions, of deception even, they're almost treated like children in there, like they're not grown adults who are capable of making and choosing their own life. I find it laughable, and it's part of a systemic issue where, you know, courts of law are just inherently sexist. They just are. I mean, you only got to look at custody battles to fucking look at that. But I think the killer for the sex trafficking charge for the government was when they brought up Jane, which everyone now believes to be Daphne Joy, the baby mama of 50 Cent. When you're following Cassie up, who we're led to believe was groomed almost by Diddy and just forced into this, you want to follow her up with someone who is more innocent than Cassie even, and seems like they've been forced into it even more than Cassie did, to tip it a little bit. This was the opposite way. They brought in an industry hoe, a 35-year-old grown-ass woman who already had a kid to 50 Cent, who's been fucking around rappers and singers plenty, who was more than happy to write a signature on the dotted line and be given a guarantee fee every month to go and fuck Diddy whenever he wanted. She didn't care if he fucked other women. The problem came when he spent money on other women. That's when she'd kick off. And she actually attacked Diddy at one point physically before he even, put a finger on her. So to call her a victim, it did not help them at all. This girl was DMing adult film stars from the movies that they'd be watching privately, getting the guys interested in her, getting them to come over, organising travel, paying them. Again, I don't know why she's not getting done for fucking transportating prostitutes. They were sending her dick pics when she wasn't even with Diddy. You're telling me that you're only, doing this because of Diddy, but that you're DMing them privately, having a bit of fucking dirty fun with them as well? Mental. I remember on her birthday, she got fucked by 3 dudes. That was a celebration for her. That was happy birthday. And even till this day, Diddy is still paying for her fucking rent. He's still paying it now. And when I was listening to all of this throughout the case, I was like, nah, this just doesn't add up. He's been doing this for so long with these women, and there's so much evidence to say they're all fucking loving it. I guarantee if we watch those tapes of these freak-offs, that'll be the killer. That'll be where you see the pleasure, you see them enjoying it, because he's not filming it if it's not good, is it? Because if you weren't any good, he'd just get a different lass. He can pick anyone he wants. So it was obvious that those tapes were going to show that they were getting dick down and loving it. When the tapes were eventually shown to the jury, I guarantee that was the killer. Because you can hear their side, Diddy didn't even talk, and yet seeing is believing. And when you see their Smiling faces. There's no way you could convince those people after that these people were forced into doing anything. And as much as some people attach their own life stories to Cassie, to Daphne Joy, and they're just desperate to see Diddy convicted because of some guy who traumatized them earlier in their life, we've got to have a bit of logic here. And so much was said to contradict the narrative. Now let's get on to transportation of prostitution, what he was found guilty of. This charge was very easy to prove, which is why I thought, yeah, you're going to get him on this. But I don't actually agree with it. All Diddy had to do to be found guilty was pay for women, Cassie and Daphne and whoever else, to go across state lines to be involved in these sex acts with prostitutes. Now, obviously, there's so much proof of plane tickets and travel and all of that. So they have got him red-handed. And unfortunately, consent doesn't matter. The fact that they were consenting doesn't matter. How mental is that, by the way? It's 2025, right? People are paying for sex all over the fucking world. And I'm for that, by the way. If two consenting adults want to, exchange money for sex, go ahead, right? It's no one else's business. And by the way, it's a tale as old as time, right? It's the oldest job in the fucking world. But now you're telling me, if I arrange to meet a hooker and go and fuck her and give her the money afterwards, it's not a big deal, right? But if I pay for her to get on a flight to then come over, then it's a crime, and a really bad one. It's a fucking joke. And apparently this law, which was the Mann Act, it's called, was passed in 1910. How the fuck is this a problem in this day and age? And I've been reading into this, and the more I look into it, I don't actually think it matters if someone is a prostitute or not. And I'm like, well, people are flying women across the fucking globe constantly for sex. All these influencers are doing it, these rappers, everyone's doing it. How do you think half the girls on Instagram are in fucking Dubai right now? And look, I don't want people to think I'm defending Diddy here. The guy should be in jail for domestic violence. I've said it from the very first video. That's justice that we're looking for there. If we put him in jail for domestic violence, that is justice. It's ridiculous. This isn't justice, and none of this case has been about justice. It's been about money. Now, Diddy won't be sentenced until October 3rd, so we won't know how long he's going to do until that date. However, he has been denied bail. Now, this shocked me, to be honest, because he was convicted on only the non-violent offences, and they could have easily just put him in his house, stuck a tracking device on him, and just said, look, you stay there until the day comes when we're going to give you your final sentence. Now, the judge did give an explanation as to why he denied bail. The first thing he comes up with is obviously the video of Cassie getting beaten on CCTV. He says his violence is depicted in the video of Cassie Ventura. However, they didn't try him on that. That's their fault. And I'm glad that he's doing jail time because he deserves to be in jail for that. But we're not putting him in jail for that. And I think it just shows the level of corruption really that we're looking at. Because let's be honest, this judge is not on the side of Diddy, right? He's on the side of the government. What he doesn't want after the government have failed to prove their case is almost to just let him out scot-free and be like, yeah, fuck off, have at it, son. Do you know what I mean? He knows this doesn't make the government look good. So maybe he's saving face by doing this a bit. One thing that might not have helped is the fact that Cassie sent a letter basically arguing that he shouldn't be released. This is the letter here, and Cassie's legal team said they respectfully request that the court deny Mr. Combs to be released pending his sentencing on his two convictions. It basically says Cassie believes that Diddy is likely to pose a danger to the victims who testified in the case, including herself as well as to the community. That's a tricky one for me because, what he's getting done for is transportation of prostitution. She was doing that just as much as he was. She was booking these escorts. The escorts testified she fucking loved it. She chose them specifically. But because she's got a vagina, apparently that doesn't matter. And she's saying she's still in danger. I mean, look, during the relationship, it was a violent relationship where he was beating her and he was a disgusting piece of shit and still is for that. But since then, there's been no, interaction. And given what he's been, going through in court, I highly doubt he would make a decision like going to a fucking house or anything like that. He's obviously not going to do that now. So for me, this is not a genuine fear of being threatened because she never went to the police about Diddy, ever. She came for money. She never went to the police. I think it was always about money with Cassie. I think for Cassie, the violence in the relationship was something she tolerated because of the end goal, which is, I'm going to marry this guy and I'm going to collect a check and a half when that happens. And then when that didn't happen, in her mind, she was like, hey, I'm getting paid one way or another. And because he'd been such an arsehole, she thought, right, I'm just going to take that up with him now and get the money that I need. And I don't really blame her for that, to be honest. I think she deserves to be paid for what she went through in terms of the physicality in that relationship. It was horrible. But this letter, I don't think is genuine. I don't think she does feel genuinely threatened. I think that this is partly embarrassment because you went out there acting like a victim and that trial exposed her. It showed that she loved the freak-offs and that she wasn't the victim that she made out she was. And now she's got to save face and continue this narrative of, well, I am a victim, even if the court don't believe I am, which they clearly didn't. And now she's got to double down and try and keep him behind bars or whatever. And I just think, again, this is not why he should be behind bars. But I do think he deserves time in jail, and I don't personally think he should be let out. And if he does, in a roundabout way, do the same time that he should have done for the domestic violence, I'm happy about that. It just doesn't feel right in terms of the way this is going down because it's all swayed by the money. And for Diddy, his job now is to get together with his legal team and do as much work as possible in the pre-sentencing to get glowing reports of Diddy from people like the probation office to make him look as a safe release as they can to get him out as early as possible. The maximum sentence for the transportation of prostitution is 10 years. Now, he got done for 2 counts of that. So in theory, he could do up to 20 years. But I think because he doesn't have a massive criminal record here, I think he might even be a first-time offender. If he does the whole, I'll do counselling, I'll do community service, and all that good boy shit, combined with the fact that he's already had time served, he could get out way earlier than 10 years even. Apparently, Diddy's team are seeking a term of 21 to 27 months, while the prosecution want him to be sent to jail for 51 to 63. I watched a few people talk about this. I heard people say he might do another year in jail, another 2 years in jail. It could be somewhere between there, but let's be honest here. It's a fucking lot shorter than life in jail, which is what he was up against. And I think what this will do is it will give him a good foundation to stand on when other people come at him for more money with all of these civil suits. Like now he's going to be like, well, I beat that one and I've shown that I can be proven innocent now, and that will change perception. If you were waiting for a potential payoff from Diddy, this was a terrible result for you. And honestly, if he had just challenged Cassie early on and not paid her off immediately, this might never have happened because this is one of the very rare times apparently where the government have looked at a civil suit and gone, let's go into that. Because there was such a pot of gold there with Diddy that they thought, well, it's worth a fucking go, isn't it? If he'd have just stood up to her, which I don't think he should have done because she does deserve money, but it may have gone differently. I love the fact that Diddy's defense are now having to say, Diddy won't call any escorts if he's released on bail, just to let you know. I mean, yeah, I should fucking think so. By the way, whenever he does get out, he should never ever call them ever again. He needs to change his fucking ways because, you know, the minute he makes a mistake, they'll be on him. And it's one thing that was very clear when looking at this whole trial was he treats people like shit and he's a fucking idiot. And this should have been the mother of all wake-up calls for him. And a very humbling experience when you are bowing down on your knees, thanking the Lord that you're only doing another year or 2 in jail. That's a humbling experience for a man who basically thought he was God. And he's a very lucky man because even though I don't think he should have been doing life in jail, you just don't know when you're in that situation. Anything can happen. And I think I'm going to end this with someone who's probably enjoyed this trial more than anyone. 50 Cent with a laughing face. He's posted on his Instagram. Did he beat the feds? That boy a bad man. Beat the RICO. He the gay John Gotti. And weirdly, this is actually going to help 50 Cent now because Daphne Joy, his baby mama, who was caught up in all of this, this has destroyed her reputation and he's going for custody of the child. So, I mean, in a way, 51 as well. But let me know what you thought of the Diddy case in its entirety in the comments below. I've really tried to keep going with this because you were messaging us saying, come on, where's the new updates? I tried my best. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe to the True Geordie YouTube channel. I'll see you on the next one.